Good morning, Chris Northrup with the Upper Deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm here today with my friend Lynn Kandrak. Lynn?
Morning. Morning, everybody.
We are here to wrap up the week that was in Yankee baseball and look forward to the week that will be. Where should we start?
Well, let's start with the now,
Okay.
Chris. Let's talk about yesterday's game for a quick second.
Sounds good.
Because we got to see Sevy in action.
Yes.
I, for one, like what I saw.
Yes.
It made me hopeful that although, he was out on a, relatively not serious concern, he was throwing some good, nasty pitches, and I think he got up there like 97, 98 a few times. Maybe a little concerned that, he tempers himself with the velocity a little bit, because he has a long way to go and he has a history, but
right.
He smoked them.
Yeah.
Especially the first inning. So
he looked strong and healthy. He got strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sevy was everything you'd hope for at this point. I
right.
thought, and I was so happy that he was healthy and out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of yesterday's game, I loved the lineup of yesterday's game.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And sure. Let me just mention what it was. We had Donaldson leading off, Judge obviously at right field, Rizzo, Stanton, DH, LeMahieu at second base, Gallo in left field, center field Hicks, shortstop Gonzalez. And that was the interesting wrinkle, I thought. Yes. And then Higgy in the 9th spot. And so it just made for such an interesting lineup.
And such an exciting game offensively. And, yes. And it's so nice to even say that sentence after last season, right? And of course, the first thing I do when I see the lineup is look for second base.
Me too.
Oh, you too. And so there's a reason why we're friends. And I'm so excited to see DJ where he belongs. And that's not to say, we all know he could belong in many places, but, right. And I also am feeling like if I could have Donaldson in front of me for a second, I'd apologize for how against him I was. And how glad I am that he's here. I think actually leadoff is looking like a good spot for him. I know Boone said he's still playing around and maybe playing around for a while, but I think, an experienced power hitter, I mean, he's power everything, glove and bat, so, he was really good factor yesterday at first. Yep. The second spot is Judge's berth. No one's going to be taking that away from him. And Higgy, I've always been, Girardi was a Yankee boyfriend. I love catchers in general, I guess. Then it was McCann when he was here catching. But I was like, oh, he's finally going to get his moment in the sun, which I begrudgingly gave to Posada when Girardi was starting to age out a bit. And look how that turns out. Yeah, so, I think, boy, that bat, we could say yesterday was an aberration, the 3 home runs, but, he has it, folks, and he's young, and when you look at the glove and the arm, his whole defensive prowess, he's at least on the same level as Rorvet, who, maybe that's a good segue into that. But first,
Right.
how did you feel about the game, Chris?
Yeah. Oh, I thought the game was outstanding. It was so much fun. And Gonzalez did fine at shortstop. There was nothing to really. The only news there is that it wasn't Glaber.
Yeah. What do you think that was about?
Well, I think it's about how they're going to get Marwin in the lineup by every now and then spelling Glaber where, a day like this so that you can get DJ in the lineup.
Right.
It's going to be tough to get DJ and Glaber in the lineup at the same time, but I believe that it could happen opening day. We could see Glaber at shortstop on opening day just to get them both in the lineup. I mean,
right.
I think that Glaber is, has the stature of an opening day player, and it's hard for me to believe that he'll be on the bench. But it's hard for me to believe that DJ will be on the bench. He's a veteran. He doesn't deserve that. But that's just me ranting.
And he's a fan favorite.
And
I would think that they're going to want to set a tone for the fans in the stadium to have the most, meaningful lineup for them out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Stanton in the outfield that day.
That may be true. May be true.
But what would that mean then in the domino effect out there? But yeah, I don't have an opinion either way about Gonzalez. There was like rumbling and grumbling about him, yesterday on Twitter. But look, if he produces and ends up looking better than Glaber, then but I'm not anti-Glaber per se. I think he's been looking pretty good so far. I think he came back ready and the little spring training we had, he seems with the exception of that one game during the week where
he played shortstop.
Oh, a ball. Okay, I get it.
Exactly. One day he played shortstop.
Yeah. So
he made a boneheaded play.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was frustrating.
Before we leave the Higgy conversation altogether, I wanted to just say that Higgy has 7 home runs on the season, and he and Rafael Devers were tied at 5, and I don't know how many Devers has now. Maybe Higgy's leading the league in homers at the moment.
Right.
That's astonishing. I also wanted to mention that so far in spring training, Higgy's hitting .455 with 7 homers and 10 RBIs. Meanwhile, Sanchez with the Twins is hitting .160, 0 homers, 2 RBIs.
This is going to sound evil, but it's nice to get validation that a trade was warranted.
Yep.
Sad for Sanchez. You want people to succeed.
I do.
They're not playing you. But yeah, I mean, it was a good move. It was a great move, and the fans were right on this one. So
Higgy's in the limelight.
Yep. Higgy has his little moment in the sun, and I hope that continues. I hope that when Roarvet is back, that it stays now flipped. And Higgy is the main rotation catcher. I think he did great with Sevy, yesterday. And yet last night's news, which was a surprise, also speaking of catchers, is that the Yankees acquired Jose Trevino from the Rangers.
Yep.
And they gave up Albert Abreu and Rob Amonte. Ostrom, yeah. So, and so that was like under the dark of night move. Boone seems to be in a position where he has to walk back on some things he said in recent days about, no more moves, and, particularly in regard to pitching. Abreu is the only one we saw up in the bigs, but really not impressive. You know, he wasn't, he was really sought after when, you know, the Yankees really went for him, but just didn't play out. They only gave him 2 years here before making the trade.
Right, and he was out of options.
Yes, that too. And yet Alstrom is a kid. He's 22, and I'm not even sure if he made it to AAA. He never left the minors anyway. So, but you know, it's kind of interesting that this kind of happened, you know, so unspeculated. I know I was surprised when I caught it last night, and makes me wonder what other, you know, dark cave moments are going on that
I know. Today I noticed when after the lineup was released, and Hill and then Clark Schmidt were to be the pitchers, Talking Yanks came out with a tweet saying that Clark Schmidt had been scratched for today, and that raised some eyebrows. Was Clark, and I still don't know whether Clark Schmidt's been scratched or not scratched for today. But anyway, people immediately started thinking, yay, you know, we're going to make a move. Clark Schmidt's been scratched for the day. So I don't know that that's actually happening. I think rather it's unlikely, but anyway.
Well, they said that before we learned that Abreu is gone.
They did?
I think, I could be wrong on the timing, but, you know, they gave away 2 pitchers last night.
Yeah.
So it would be curious to me if they, you know, didn't have, you know, something in mind beyond like scratching today or not.
Right.
Hold on to the ones that, you know, were thought to be, you know, good enough to be in the game.
Yeah.
Today. That makes sense.
Yes.
Right. And while we're still on pitchers, what'd you think of Nasty yesterday?
Oh, love it. I mean, I always love it. And he never disappoints, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. He was on, you know, it seemed to me. What did you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, his pitching, you know, is right where it left off, but better. I saw on Yankees Magazine, you know, they had a segment on him, and, you know, it's so clear how hard he works, and it was just nice to hear his philosophy in terms of the lockout, that when it was going on so long that the day that spring training was supposed to happen came, he said, I treated it like that day was here. And, you know, so from the first day of what was supposed to be,
right,
I was, you know, hardcore doing what I would have been doing at Steinbrenner Field. But in game, absolutely. I mean, his pitches, you know, did what they're always supposed to do, caught hitters off guard. You know, he got the job done. My one concern / wondering is, you know, he was used as a middle reliever, right? Essentially, he was brought in, and I know that's like the thing in spring training. You know, I know they were going to be stacking, you know, by number of innings, but you know, I just haven't seen him be the starter,
right?
And you know, yet. So
well, speaking of starters, I think for myself, I think it's going to shake down to be Cole, Sevy, Monty, Tyone, and Monty and Tyone could be switched around, and Nestor. What do you think?
Well, that's certainly my hope. I think that I most certainly agree with Monty and Tyone. I know at first it was flipped, you know, but then JMO had a little bit of an issue, and so I'm more thinking that Monty would be more solidly there for a while. Could be wrong, because anything could happen. Yeah, I think those are the 5, and then you know, I think next in line would be Heel.
Heel, Schmidt. King, Garcia. I mean, those are all spot
Yeah.
starter, long relievers.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen so far from Garcia is an improvement over last year.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a, maybe we had too high of expectations for him last season,
Right.
but and so we had low expectations, and that's why he's looking good.
Yeah.
By we, I guess I mean me.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to include you or the universe. But I think he's been decent.
I do too. And who, so far with what we've named, who is there to complain about?
Right.
I mean, everybody keeps saying that we have all these question marks. I think we've got a strong starting staff. All right, it's not maybe the, most elite pitchers. It's not, but then again, the Mets have already lost their two top pitchers.
Right.
They're starting the season with, they're already out there trying to make a trade today.
Right.
For a pitcher. So I think we're in good shape. And then we've got for, the setup guys, we've got Green and Loizaga. And then for middle relief, Ludiga, Peralta, I would say Abreu, but he got traded.
Yes.
Clay Holmes. And then what do you think about Banuelos? Did you see him or?
I did see him pitch, and fairly consistent. I think some of the off par things might be just a function of his not having as much time on the mound last season. I don't know about the season before that, but I do like. I mean, he's strong. I think he produced in the little time that I saw him.
Yeah.
I think if anything, definitely a bullpen guy, for sure. Still.
Yeah.
Do I think that he should be in consideration for, end of game relief, whether it's 7th or 8th, or or even 9th, which is our next probably mention. But yeah, I think he's a good get. I think there's good possibilities in there, and I think he can contribute.
Yeah. And you can never have too much pitching, right? I mean, if Banuelos ends up in AAA for a time, it's only because there's someone who hasn't been injured yet. And
exactly.
that will happen. And I would think Banuelos would be like one of those next guys up type of guy.
Yes, absolutely.
And last but not least, Aroldis Chapman and Zach Britton, but Zach's on the DL with recovering from the Tommy John.
Right.
Aroldis had a rough 2021.
Yes, and we haven't yet to see the proof in the pit. We haven't seen the proof in the pudding yet.
Right.
And so do we, enter the season with the same, level of doubt? Do we give him a chance? I mean, I'm certain the Yankees are going to start off with him as the closer. But who's our replacement, and how soon should the Yankees be thinking about that?
Well, I would think the replacement might be Loizaga.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that comes right to mind beyond Zach Britton, since if you don't have Zach Britton available. Right. So, but Chapman to me is the question mark. I mean, if you're going to talk about all these question marks in the pitching, really, I think you've got a question mark as to what Chapman, how he'll rebound from what was a rough season for him last year, and whether or not who's going to make the team in the middle relief, because I think that, there's only a few question marks there. But I think we're solid. I think this is a very solid pitching staff.
Yep, both starting and in the pen.
Yep.
And, starting has been more of the issue than the pen recently. But
the Yankees had one of the top 4 bullpens in MLB last season.
Yep.
So and nothing's changed.
Right, exactly. And we have the same guys in there, essentially. And so, and the thing about Chapman is, you can't change temperament, and and that could be a really good thing because in the best of scenarios, temperament helps. But in Chapman's case, how do we change that temperament we see from that, unveiled anger and what appears to be arrogance, which, I personally think could be more about, I'm going to laugh it off because I'm the big bad man and I just got played.
Yeah.
You can't change temperament. I mean, that's science. It actually is. So it's like you're born with a temperament, and there's only so much an environment could do to change that. But and so I'm saying that to make the point of that's really his Achilles heel to me is his temperament, because then he's living rent free in his own head.
Yes.
And it gets in the way. We know what he's capable of.
Yes.
Know that he's, nasty as hell. And we continue to see it, but at last season it was in spurts, which, had not been the case to this extent ever.
Right.
And so, and we're not inside the heads of, nor would I want to be of Cashman and Boone, but
I'm eager to see our Chapman. You're right. He's been withheld so far in camp.
Yes,
and, it'll be a big deal when fans get a look at him. I think.
Like what happens in the season? First series of the season come
Right.
out on April 7th at 1 p.m. 1:05 p.m.
Yep.
So. What happened? I mean, he's clearly going to be the closer if it's needed,
right,
at any point in the season.
Yep.
So that'll be our first tell.
That will be.
But I'm carrying the same concerns.
Yeah, yep. And your comments about his temperament bring me to another player whose temperament I wanted to talk about, and that's Josh Donaldson. There was an interesting article floating around yesterday by Sweeney Murdy. He wrote about Donaldson's childhood growing up, what things that Donaldson himself believes make that fire and that intensity that he plays with. And about Donaldson, a former Braves and Blue Jays GM said that he brings the same kind of intensity to the game that Kirk Gibson brought to the Dodgers in 1988.
Whoa.
Leading them to a World Series. And we saw some of the Donaldson effect last year when he was in Atlanta. For me, he was the player you love to hate. When he played for the Blue Jays, I despised the man.
Yeah.
I couldn't boo loud enough because he kept hitting and hitting. But no doubt Yankee fans will soon love him just for that very reason.
Yes, and I think it won't take any time at all. I think that he's right up, well, first of all, just having the spot he has in the lineup, and the way he's producing when we've seen him in spring training.
Yeah.
Like I said, I owe an apology to him. I was definitely in the camp no on him, but liking what I see, liking what I'm hearing from him in interviews and his perspective. And very excited to have somebody like him on third.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another player said about Donaldson, you're not going to outwork him. You can say whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. Every single day, he's trying to get his body and mind right to play. What else is there left to say? So he's as hardworking a player, and everybody knows that. In fact, Higgy followed him around this spring, trying to find out the secret to his hitting success. And I'll be darned if Higgy hasn't picked up something.
Yeah.
Something, right?
That's really interesting. May they become closer and closer.
They're best friends.
Besties for life.
Exactly. Hey, have you looked at today's lineup?
No, I sleep in.
Oh, you sleep in? Well,
this is my first waking activity of the day.
Donaldson is leading off again.
Perfect.
Yes, and so, I mean, I'm beginning to think, if you and I were going to talk about our opening day perfect rosters, kind of what I saw yesterday, and definitely not the rest of today's roster, which has Connor Falefa at shortstop, Hicks in center, Torres at second, Andujar at first. It's the all Andujar showcase today. NCRT in right, Locastro in left, and Brantley DHing with McDowell behind the plate. So today's definitely like a B cast almost.
Almost. It's like celebrity D-list. Like so let me get this right. No Rizzo.
Nope.
No Rizzo, no Gallo.
Nope.
No Judge.
No Judge.
No Hicks.
Just Hicks.
Oh, just Hicks.
Yeah, Hicks in center. He batting third.
No DJ.
Nope.
Spring
training lineup.
No Glaber. That's okay. I actually like
Glaber at second.
Oh, Glaber at second.
Yeah.
All right, that was just a wishing thought. Kind of Falefa at short, which actually I'm okay with.
I'm okay with that.
We could bring him up too. I think that was a good get. But they don't need to be rested yet. These I guess it's audition day.
Yes. As I said, I think it's the Miguel Andujar showcase day. Let him go up there, maybe get a couple hits, play, not embarrass himself at first base, which may or may not be possible. I wish him the best.
Of course. But yeah, it's all right. So I want to watch for a different reason today. Because that'll be interesting.
Right.
And we have on the mound
Heel.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So and we're still against the Braves. I'm really out of my head is not.
I think it's the Blue Jays.
That's right. Today it's the Jays, and so
I think it's at the Jays. So we're not going to get any TV.
Oh, darn it.
I think it's just audio today.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
But the Jays, even in spring training, scared the ever living.
I
out of me. They always have. They're Yankee eaters.
Yankee eaters. Yep.
And so, and just seeing them, the last, because they've already met the Blue Jays once during spring training.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna. Well, first of all, our division overall, it is gonna be a hell of a war. But
yes, it is.
The Blue Jays are still the biggest nightmare in my head. So
I agree.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays are my biggest concern in the AL East this year.
Yep, for sure.
But, I think the Yankees have a stronger pitching staff.
Yes.
And although it seems like maybe the Blue Jays have a younger, maybe more active offense, than the Yankees do. I don't know. Do they steal more bases than us? I mean, they're younger. Are they faster? They certainly hit the ball hard.
Let's think about who we lost when thinking about that question, though, and who we gained.
Yeah.
Who's our speed guy anymore?
Right.
With Wade gone.
Right.
Who's our base stealer?
Well, I think it's going to be Connor Falefa, but Aaron Hicks this week was quoted as saying that he wanted to be a 30-30 man this year. But I mean, honestly, is Hicks going to steal 30 bases? He's never stolen more than 15 in a season, and that was
No.
that was back.
No, even considering Aaron Hicks is injury free this year,
Right.
which we all wish, despite what we joke about. Um, no, but look, goals exist for a reason,
Right.
and to have such a mighty goal to lay down publicly, I take as, he gets my respect for that.
Yeah.
Because goals aren't always practical or realistic, but they're what you're shooting for, and
Yeah.
that should translate in how you're acting.
Right.
So, and so if he plays as if that's what he's going for, then I'd be happy with splitting the difference with him, quite frankly.
Yeah.
This is going to be his full season with us in a while.
Yeah.
So good on him for, sort of putting a line in the sand for himself on there publicly.
Yeah.
And he bunted the other day.
I know.
Could you believe it?
Bunted, yes.
That was like the shot heard around the world on Twitter. I couldn't keep up with.
Right.
Oh my God.
He would get on base.
Yeah, and it was a damn good laydown. And so, so that's kind of, all right, there's, we're not wishing for, it's not 30, 30, 30, 30.
Right.
But hey, it shows a little tiny glimpse of he's going to do whatever it takes to get on.
Yeah.
And not that, yard or nothing, or, double based or nothing.
I'd love to see an animated Aaron Hicks, excited, intense.
Yeah.
He seems like a laid back kind of guy generally.
Yes.
Not too up, not too down. I mean, you don't see him wildly celebrating or
right.
whatever, but
yeah, and that ties back to temperament, right? And when temperament has no, potentially has no effect whatsoever on how you produce.
Right.
We could say the same thing for DJ.
No.
DJ won't even let you hug him. And he's not the jump up and down kind of guy.
No, he's not. You're right.
But most you'll see out of him in the dugout shots is like a yes. When someone hits a homer, he's not the first over the fence from the dugout kind of guy. He'll walk up the steps, stroll along. But he's great. And so same with Hickey. I mean, I'm not Hickey, sorry. Hicksy. Same with Hicks. That could be a plus in his
right.
In his favor. I'm just trying to be all pro.
Yeah. It's like, just do it.
Yeah. So don't get flustered. There's something about being too impulsive that leads to injury. Right. So being that cool and calculated, as long as it translates into the field of still, making the play you need to make, even if you have to dive or, whatever it is. Look, if that gets into 30, 30, 30, or at least better than last time we had him all year. But yeah, he is. And we as fans, and I think this is your point, excuse me, want that, we're warriors and we're beasts.
Yeah.
As the external thing.
Yep.
Except for Chapman.
Well, I think last but not least, let's look forward to opening day, which is now just a short matter. And we thought it was never coming. And now it's days
almost didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we'd see it in April, but here we are. Proposed lineups. Who do you want to see and where do you want to see them?
Right now, I would still keep Donaldson at first. Judge, I have no choice in. The second Second spot is his until he leaves. Oh, which is let's park that for next week.
Oh my God.
Because April 7th is a big date thrown in the sand on that.
Yeah, I've got that on my list. We didn't talk about that.
But we can still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So third, I'd like to see Rizzo there. For DH, I'm in a little bit of a conflict because I think especially for opening day at home, like our tried and true, the ones that the fans get the most excited about, would set a really exciting tone. I mean, certainly it shouldn't be at the detriment to a win, but I'd like to see Stanton, on the field and not DHing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I know I could pay for that, saying that publicly, but then the question would be, who for DH? I think that would depend on who's pitching for Boston that day.
Right.
Gallo, I think, has been fifth lately, and I think that's a good spot for him. I think maybe you would try Kiner Falefa as DH, or maybe if they want to continue with the Andujar show, put Andujar for DH. Actually,
if you want to get Gallo in the lineup, you may have to DH him.
Yeah, which makes me nervous.
That's not what you would think it would be a traditional.
Which would be a vote for him on the field, and Higgy for catcher forever. And I know I skipped a couple of spots, but from there.
And I agree with you on everything. Donaldson, for me, it would be Donaldson, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton at DH. At second base, either DJ or Torres. And that means at shortstop, either DJ or Torres, because I want to see DJ LeMahieu on opening day in the lineup.
Yes, I can't believe I didn't say that. You're absolutely right.
And if I see that, if Isaiah Kiner Falefa rides the pine on opening day, that to me, that's fine. That's no disrespect to a guy with, fewer years under his belt than, a multi-gold glove winner at second base. I don't know. There are some definitely controversial spots, in this lineup.
Right.
And then I want to see Gallo in left field, Hicks in center, and of course Higgy behind the plate. So I do like Donaldson in the leadoff.
Oh, 100%. I really have no qualms with that continuing. And isn't it nice? Isn't it nice that we landed in a place where we have to have those kind of discussions?
Yes.
Like, the infield being the dry desert of the off season.
Right.
And now we're thinking all these different ways that would be acceptable to us. Right. I mean,
if I got down to brass tacks, what's really acceptable to me would be trading Gleyber Torres for a starting pitcher. That's what I wish had happened.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But that didn't happen, so.
Of course, but, if Gleyber's bat gets hot.
I know.
Then he could be sitting as DH, and that would solve some of the problems.
So.
Yeah, so that's something to hope for.
Yeah. So let's finish up with the Judge contract, since we mentioned it, but we hadn't come on to it yet. Judge this week came up number 11 on the MLB Top 100 list, which I thought was interesting because I couldn't really disagree with it. I love Judge, but I thought 11 was about right. Did you?
Yeah.
I can't remember everybody up above, but.
Let's face it, he's turning 30.
Yep.
Okay now. And we all know the time warp perception there. And so should he have made the top 10? Yeah. it is a little bit surprising to see him at 11, hear that he's at 11, but yeah, I think it's fair. But I don't know who's on top of him, like you just said.
I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Now, this is what I think might be something Judge could get offered. Like 7 years, somewhere around. And yesterday, who was it? Oh, Jack Curry said
Yes.
it's going to start with a 3. So we're talking 7 years, 30 million, 7 years, 35 million. Something in that range would be acceptable to fans, I think.
Right. And when you look at where they are now, Judge, I believe, is asking 40, and the Yankees are offering 17.
Yeah.
So Yankees would have to go up considerably higher, with what Curry's saying.
Yeah.
Then a Judge would have to come down. So I don't know. I'm finding it surprising that this is even a question, that the Yankees are countering that low. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be bluffing.
It's almost like they play into the sort of false misconceptions people have of Judge, which is that he's injury prone, that he doesn't stay on the field, and all that is, my mind, is BS. The kind of injuries Judge has had are not maintenance injuries like hamstring. I mean, sure, he's had some of those too, but I mean, broken chest, broken bone in his, yeah, I mean, and then the wrist thing.
Yeah.
These were not ticky-tack injuries that kept him out.
Right. Yeah.
I say pay the man.
What?
I say pay the man.
Pay the man. That this shouldn't even be a conversation.
Right.
And this should have been a conversation that was closed a long time ago. And what do you think about Judge's strategy of either we have a deal by opening day, or I'm not going to talk about it until the season is over?
Right. Well,
that's
yeah.
That's risky.
I think it is risky, but I think that it's not a hard deadline. It's soft. You can't tell me that that Judge won't listen if his agent happens to speak with the Yankees about a contract.
Of course, but to me the risk is that he's even saying it, and Cashman saying, "Oh, okay,
yeah,
talk to you at the end of October."
Yeah,
and P.S. You crapped out in the postseason.
Yeah.
So see ya. I mean, none of that is going to happen. But I found it interesting that Judge would even lay that down.
Right. Are the Yankees challenging Judge to have the season that it would take to deserve that money? Is that the challenge of 2022 for Aaron Judge?
See, that's the kind of thing that people call him cash balls for.
Right.
That would take balls.
That would take balls.
Yeah.
Oh. And speaking of Cashman, he was talking this week with reporters and lamenting that and saying that fans criticize the team for not winning championships since 2009, that it's been too long, etc. And he came back with the fact that in 2017, the Yankees were poised to win, were one, out away or whatever from going to the World Series.
Yeah.
He blames the Astros. And this was the fodder for a lot of conversation on social media. And I want to read you just one reaction that came from a fan. This killed me. It's from MBZ Returns, Mike B. Days later, I'm still appalled by the whining, arrogant, bald weasel Brian Cashman. One division title in 10 years, and he is crying about 5 years ago. And that was when he had a real manager to boot. And that was a typical reaction of Yankee Twitter.
And Breezy, anytime anywhere, the beers are on me.
Yeah.
For that tweet alone.
We love that tweet. That's our tweet of the day.
It's the tweet of the week, month right now. Love it. That last dig.
Oh my gosh.
All the beer for you.
We have a question of the day this week. It's a little complicated. You might want to write it down, or you might know what it is right off the top of your head, because I think it's very recognizable. But this question is, who am I? This player has 30 plate appearances so far in the spring, 3 singles, 1 homer, 11 strikeouts, and 4 walks. Who am I? And if you can shoot us an answer to that, like, subscribe, comment, give us a comment on Twitter. Check us out also on Instagram. I do a TikTok where I plug the show. If you're interested in any of those platforms, check it out there. Lynn, anything else from you?
Yes. Yeah, and while you're subscribing to YouTube, if you haven't already, and if you haven't, shame on you, on opening day, in addition to the usual daily episode from Pinstripe Chronicles, we'll be live on YouTube for the game.
Live.
And so, taking your comments and questions, watching it live together in real time, and maybe even reading your questions on air, hopefully, or your comments on air. So we really hope that you join us on YouTube and watch the game with us.
Yep.
And until next week, after which we'll have a series with Boston to talk about.
Yes.
Join us again next Sunday, where you'll always have your specially reserved seat on the upper deck. Have a good week, everybody.
Go Yankees.
Go Yankees.